Yeah, we are excited for Rachel to help us to investigate what that means to potentially begin a recovery ministry here. And so, again, as you go out to those to the table to sign up, if you're interested in being part of a focus group, a part of maybe talking about what does this mean for New Life, she'd be happy to connect with you in the next few weeks. Well, I'm not wearing blue today. This is as close to a turkey as I'm going to dress. But hey, we are the Sunday before Black Friday. And I know for many of you, you just can't wait. You're already getting those emails about pre-Black Friday sales. Save now. I admit I was already shopping yesterday and talking to the clerks. Hey, so what are your hours in Black Friday? Oh, we're opening up on Thursday at 6. Well, what do you feel about that? And they're all like, hey, at least we're getting some hours, so we're happy about that. So anyway, that was my conversation yesterday as I went to a different few stores. But my question is, or not my question, but our dilemma is this. We're going to get bombarded by agencies that have spent millions of dollars to tell us we need something that we don't even know exists. And so how do we as a church deal with that? Or just as people? As a pastor, the question is, so what do I teach on the Sunday before Black Friday? And, there's all kinds of topics. I could have talked about greed. I could have talked about misplaced priorities. I could talk about materialism. I could just talk about values and how even the best of us get sidetracked during this week and really the next 4 weeks. But I think it's just important that we know that our mind and our hearts are about to get hijacked for the next few days. And so how can we be intentional to step into that so that we don't go along for the ride, but that we're in control of what happens? Let's pray. Thank you, Lord, for this time together, for the people who have walked into this place, for those who at times could probably care less about you, or they're not really connected with you as their personal Lord and Savior. So thank you that they're here. Thank you for those who have been here for a long time, who have been through a whole lot of Black Fridays. Thank you for the hearts of those as they've entered this place, for those who are addicted to one thing or another, for those who struggle with the upcoming weeks. And I simply pray, God, that the thoughts that are in their hearts and the words that come from my mouth today will be acceptable in your sight, because you are our strength and our Redeemer. Amen. Well, I landed on a passage found in Luke 12, verses 13 to 31, and that's found on page 727 in the Bibles, in some of those chairs in front of you. I'm not going to read all of that. As I kept reading, my passage kept expanding for today, and it's just like, okay, some of this stuff is just great for you to read on your own. So I challenge you over the next few days just to read through Luke 12 and focus in on the many truths found in that. But it starts off at verse 13 about somebody asking Jesus to arbitrate an inheritance situation. And so I'm just going to skip around at the beginning. So in verse 15, he said to them, "Take care, be on your guard against all kinds of greed, for one's life does not consist in the abundance of possessions." And then the verses continue and talks about the guy who had a banner year in the farm, more stuff than he can imagine. And so he says, I'm going to tear them down, build up bigger barns, and so I can just live off of that, probably when he retires. And then we read in verse 20, "But God said to him, 'You fool, this very night your life is being demanded of you, and all the things you have prepared, whose will they be?' So it is with those who store up treasures for themselves, but are not rich toward God. And then the chapter continues with some of these familiar words to some of you. He said to his disciples, "Therefore I tell you, do not worry about life, what you will eat, or about your body, what you will wear. For life is more than food, and the body more than clothing. Consider the ravens. They neither sow nor reap. They have neither storehouse nor barn, yet God feeds them. And how much more value are you than the birds? And can any of you, by worrying, add a single hour to the span of your life? If then you are not able to do so small a thing as that, why do you worry about the rest? Consider the lilies, how they grow. They neither toil nor spin. Yet I tell you, even Solomon in all of his glory was not clothed like one of these. But if God so clothes the grass of the field, which is alive today and tomorrow is thrown into the oven, how much more will he clothe you, you of little faith? And do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink. And do not keep worrying. For it is the nations of the world that strive after these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for the kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well." And so, again, as I was thinking about Black Friday and about to get hijacked into the next 4 weeks of stuff, the word that came to my mind was worry. And it's in this passage several times. And worry is really an interesting word. It's a destructive word. I think it's a socially acceptable word for those of us who may be overprotective parents. Somehow we think we have the right, the God-given right as a dad, to worry. Worry is destructive. Worry, translated, also means anxious and to be torn apart. And in our English translations of that word, it really means to strangle. And so, folks, we're dealing with some worry. Isn't just a little pop culture. Well, don't worry, be happy. I mean, it is destructive. It can change your mind. It can force you to go down paths you don't even believe in. It strangles your mind. It strangles your heart. It strangles your own self-esteem. It's deceptive. It gives us a false view of God. Worry tells us, I think, that life is made up of what we eat and what we wear and of our daily just needs. Worry distorts the truth between making a living and making a life. Because many of us just worry. And we're worrying about Christmas. We're worrying about some event focused, unfortunately, in our culture around too many things and how many gifts you have. And all of a sudden, we're behaving like people we don't even want to behave like. Worry puts blinders on us, and it prevents us from seeing God, from seeing the God who loves us, from seeing the God who will provide and take care of us. It distorts the reality that God really does care and provides for our everyday needs. God feeds the birds, and God takes care of his children. God beautifies the plants, and God clothes his people. Well, yet somehow I think this week, if you're like most people, you're probably thinking through, okay, Christmas is coming. What do I get for so-and-so? And even yesterday in the mall, eavesdropping on conversations as I'm walking through, oh, just get her another sweater. She can always use another sweater. Well, that's what we got him last year. Well, let's just grab a gift card. That's all he really needs. And it's just like, how many sweaters do we need? How many of us just buy things for the sake of, well, we got to give him something. So let's just get him this, which is in a year in the yard sale. And I just think we're worried, how will the family look at us? Will they think I'm cheap? Will they like me more because I'm giving them more gifts? And again, we just need to be aware of what we are about to enter. Now, I want to be certain to say here that, I'm not against Black Friday. I don't think we can find a scriptural base to say Black Friday is evil or sinful. I don't think we can find a scriptural base that says you can't open up on Thanksgiving. Folks, that's the world in which we live in. The local commerce, they gotta sell their stuff so that they can be in business, and if they want to be open up on Thursday, then let them be open up on Thursday. So you're not going to be hearing me say that, love God and avoid them all on Thursdays at 6:30. For some of you, it's a fun time. It's been a fun time for us as a family in the past. Grandma would stay home with the kids. The adults go out that was in the olden days when it was 6 o'clock the stores opened on Friday morning. We get our little free donuts, our free cup of coffee at Kohl's whenever they were doing all those kind of things, and I think those days are gone. Or maybe you're like the TV commercial, the lady with all the bags. Oh, I saved hundreds of dollars at Black Friday, and then her neighbor says, well, I saved thousands. And she bought the new Buick. So if you need a new Buick, go for it. Make the deal of a century. Save some money. But I am just convinced that as we are looking at Black Friday, as we're looking at the season that pours into us and tries to control us, that more is better, we just need to take a step back and remember that God will provide for us. We need to take a step back and remember that the relationships we have are more important than the things we own. We need to be intentional about those relationships so that for the next 12 months, you're not paying on that deferred payment that you thought was such a good deal and the stress that creates. And again, in our culture, gifts are normal. So I'm not even saying gifts are bad. I'm not even saying you can't spoil the ones you love. Just put me on that list if you want to. That is really okay. But we just need to be cautious that we don't replace those things to remind us that really Christmas is about celebrating the reality that the God of creation loved us to come down to earth, to walk among us, to create that relationship with us. And so what are we doing to make that happen? And then I think, again, of those last few verses that I read, we need to remember what Luke was writing about. Do not keep striving for what you are to eat and what you are to drink. And do not keep worrying, for it is the nations of the world that strive after all these things, and your Father knows that you need them. Instead, strive for his kingdom, and these things will be given to you as well. And for whether you're a part of the church or not, for most of us here, you know that is true. You know that it's not about things, it's really about relationships. But I think it's a whole lot easier to say that than it is to live that. And as in most messages, most sermons, it's a whole lot easier to talk about what we should be doing and drop the ball when it comes to applying that in our lives. So what are we doing different? How are we going to be intentional? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to invite the equipping team Those are my senior staff, so to speak. They're going to come up and they're going to share with you some of their personal experiences on how they try to be intentional with the holiday season. Whether it's some of their own traditions, some of the changes they've made, or what they're doing with their own families that hopefully you can get some ideas about. Now, it doesn't mean they're experts. Doesn't mean they have all these special blogs that you have to go to and follow them. We're not holding them up on a pedestal, but we're just trying to give you some real-life applications about how we are not to worry and how we are to keep our focus during the upcoming season. So, team, why don't you come up here and let's share a few things. As we're bringing out the chairs, let me remind you that our annual meeting, which is after this, don't forget, folks, it's not just an annual meeting, but there have been a lot of people baking goods, brownies, cornbread, some chili, and so we're going to have a great lunch right after that meeting. So don't think you got to skip the meeting because you're going to be hungry, but the meeting will be about an hour, and then we'll eat until that food is gone, and so we'll enjoy that. So who's going to start us off?
Well, I am, but we'll wait till Ryan's taking the pictures.
Did you get that? did you get me in that picture?
Sorry, no. I'll do it again.
Where's my naughty list? No. Okay, let's get this. All right.
Sorry,
okay, who's
Brenda.
starting?
Was that the black and white?
Black and white, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, bringing it back old school, you know?
Yeah, old school's the new school. Hey, so we're excited to share, and as Juno said, it's certainly not because we have anything figured out. As I'll share actually, I'm still kind of in the midst of trying to figure out how to be intentional in the holiday season. And so one thing the last week as I was reflecting, just to be honest, and this might shock some people as someone who does ministry, I grew up in the church, and I think I've actually gotten far, far, far too used to the Christmas story. If I'm really honest, sometimes I think it actually bores me because I know all the details. I can recite the nativity scene and how it all lined up and all the facts there in that situation. And so something that kind of dawned on me this year is that, Mark, how can I find a way to re-engage what the birth of Jesus really means? And not just kind of in a heady way, but as Juno mentioned, in a more practical way. And so one thing that I'm going to do, I've never done it before, it kind of sounds cliche, but I think it's really simple, and it only takes 15 minutes out of your week. And so if you can't do this 15 minutes, then maybe we have other questions of you just making more time in your schedule. But all I'm going to do is I'm going to get a piece of paper, and I'm going to get a pencil, and I'm going to do this 4 times. I'm going to do it before this Saturday before the first Sunday of Advent, so this Saturday coming up. And as we explore this Christmas season, we're going to be looking at the 4 things during our teaching series of hope, peace, joy, and love each Sunday. And so the Saturday before that Sunday, I'm going to sit down at a table, and for 5 minutes, I'll take the theme. So for the first Sunday, it'll be hope. And I'm just going to write down, I'm going to put a timer out for 5 minutes. I'm just going to write down everything that I hope in. And so it could be something silly, like I hope the Angels win the World Series next year. Or
miracle. He's expecting a miracle.
We'll see about that. I'm okay if that happens. It's a miracle. Or it could be something obviously way more serious. I hope that I have a wonderful time with my family this year, and my grandma, who is slowly kind of approaching death, that I can have great times with her. So there's a whole gamut there, and the idea of just jotting down real quick whatever I'm hoping in, from the simple to the profound. 5 minutes. The next 5 minutes, just looking at that list and just kind of reflecting on it. And then the next 5 minutes, bringing those things to prayer before God and saying, God, hey, I'm hoping in these things, and maybe 85% of my list is pretty shallow and superficial. So would you teach me, Lord, to hope in the things that are maybe of more worth? And so it's kind of a heart check to see where am I at. And so then I would do the same thing with what do I find joy in? How am I making peace? And what do I love? And so going through those 4 subjects before Sunday before Advent here, and just a way to write down the simple things of life and the more profound, and then also to engage my heart. Where am I really at in this? And then just to spend time praying through that. The good thing about it, the last thing is, wherever you are in your spiritual journey, I have friends who are atheists who pray, believe it or not. And so I think this is something that if you're just following Jesus for the first time, or if you've been in the church for 55 years, I think we can all benefit from just making a list of reflecting and then praying through it. So that's what I'll be doing. I've never done it before. It's kind of cheesy, but I think it'll help my heart to re-engage with the Christmas season. So I think Ryan is next.
Hello. How's everybody doing out there? All right, awesome. It's great to be with you. My beautiful, beautiful wife, Hartley, and I were at Disneyland on Thursday night, and we enjoyed the holiday fireworks. And I just got to say, the way that they time the music to the fireworks now at Disneyland, it's just magical. So if you've not sat and looked up at the castle and seen the lighting and then the fireworks behind it, it's really cool. So with that, after that, we enjoyed some churros and some treats, and we talked about, hey, what are some things that we want to work on as a family for this holiday season? And so we came up with 3 just kind of basic things. First, personally, I know for me, time in the Word is really, really important, and morning time, devotional time is really important for me. So personally, I'm going to get a little Advent devotional series. I actually Googled it yesterday and just said Advent devotional. And I'm just going to basically be looking at some scripture every morning and reminding myself and just coming to the heart of who God is, what's going on with this series, and what is the season really, really about. Because for me, it's a daily pursuit of God that keeps me on track. And when I don't do that, I really lose focus. Additionally, just continuing to Sabbath is really, really important. Monday's our Sabbath day, and we really try to find rest that day and recreation. And keeping that rhythm of rest, it's so easy to cut that off because you got so many things to do. And so really continuing to prioritize that. As a family, we want to know our limit, and we want to know that this season is going to be busy, so we are pushing everything that we can out of the holiday season. So, hey, we really wanted to clean out that closet, January 2015. Hey, we really wanted to actually wash our dishes, January 2015. Hey, it might get smelly, but just light a candle, But no, really, if there are some people that we've been wanting to meet up with or some business we've wanted to start, we're just pushing it all out of the holiday season so that way we can really focus in. Because last-minute things always come up, and everything seems to be so much more than it was initially. Hey, come to my little party, and then you have to bring all these things, and it's really crazy. Additionally, for gifts, we are trying to focus more on our gifts. And I don't mean we're trying to buy ourselves a bunch of presents, but what I do mean is that Hartley and I are focusing on our strengths, and that's how we're going to do gift giving. So Hartley loves to craft. And for her, that's even recreational. That's restful. When she has free time, she loves to do little crafty things, and she's actually making a lot of our presents this year for people. And so she's finding a way to rest and enjoy kind of a Sabbath thing for her, but that's how we're going to give gifts. And I'm a very relational guy, and so I get really stressed out with buying people things. And so I'm going to focus more on connecting with people, making phone calls, texting, going to parties and events with a mindset not of, we got to get this and buy this and this, but who am I going to connect with? Who am I going to spend time with? Who am I going to love on today? And so another example is my mom. She loves baking and she loves making candies, and she will spend 3 or 4 days straight the week leading up to Christmas baking candies for my 80 family members who come over on Christmas Day. And I think she's crazy, but she loves it. And for her, that is just her way of giving. And so focus on your gifts this season. Give with the strengths that you have. Lastly, as we look at our extended family and friends when we get together, like I said, we have the 80 on Christmas afternoon. That's my mom's side of the family only. We do a few other things. One of the things that we've changed, we've gone from a huge gift exchange, a bunch of people getting people gifts, to a raffle system. And we love the raffle. We've done it for 8 years now. It is so awesome. It gets more and more intense every year. But all you got to do is bring one random $25 value gift. Everybody throws it in. We get raffle tickets, and then some people donate grand prizes. And, we've given away iPads, air tickets. It's just gotten really, really intense. So that's probably not a way to simplify Christmas there. But that raffle, it just is so much more interactive than everybody getting their individual gift, opening up at the same time and saying, oh, thank you. We're just like, oh, we rigged, oh, you cheated, oh, you wrote that, oh, no, you switched tickets, and it's this whole big thing, and that's how our family expresses love, so, yeah. But yeah, those are some of the things that we're doing for the holiday season, and yeah, Brenna, what do you guys got?
I just have to say, it's so interesting to hear what everybody thinks through, and it's all like we have to have a plan of attack practically for this season, right? So for me, beyond my role here at the church, as many of you know, I have a wonderful husband and 2 wonderful, very energetic kids. And I think for those of us who are in that kid stage of life, Christmas can be really, really tricky because there's not only the pressure, of marketing, maybe other families we see that seem to just drown their kids in gifts. There's not only that pressure, but everything inside of us, I think, wants to give our kids like an amazing, wonderful season. We want to give our kids wonderful gifts and for them to have these fabulous memories of the Christmas season as just a season of joy. And they would associate that joy with Jesus, right? We think. But on the other hand, besides the worries about what that's going to do to our budget, we may also have some worries about what we might be teaching our kids if we give them too many gifts, and what we're modeling for them if we do drown them in presents. We read in Acts 20 that it's happier to give than to receive. And that's such a deep truth in our faith journeys and our life journeys, and how are we going to pass that on to our kids even in the Christmas season? So Israel and I don't have it all figured out, but a couple of things that we do during the Christmas season. One of them, in terms of really just reminding the kids on a daily basis in a fun and easy way that this season is about more than gifts, it's about Jesus, is we do something called a progressive nativity. And so we actually have this old wooden nativity set made with wood and felt. I made it when I was 7, I think. And Mary and Joseph start in a corner of our house. And every morning when the kids wake up, they run to see how far Mary and Joseph have moved during the night as they travel to Bethlehem over the course of the season. And it's hilarious how much they get into that, even though our house is kind of small. And so seriously, they move sometimes like 6 inches. Yeah. Like, that's how far they've moved overnight. But they love it. And it reminds them that we're really in that season of waiting for Jesus and for Jesus' birth. Of course, there's so many opportunities over the course of the season to involve our kids in the good things that are going on, from, the food drive that we just completed, taking them with us to the grocery store as we collect groceries. One year, Dia actually ran her own little food drive in a group of friends and families that we hang out with weekly. And so she collected, 3 or 4 bags worth of food, and she was so proud, of her efforts in that. Tina still has 8 angel tree gifts, I think, and taking the kids to the store to buy gifts not for themselves, not even for their friends, but for children of prisoners that they've never met, and to let them have that opportunity and help you wrap it and bring it. She does need them by next week, I think. Little promo,
Nice
sneaking
plug.
that in there.
Yeah, thank you.
So involving our kids in the good things that are going on. And finally, and this is our big one, this is really our big thing that we do as a family, is that we have chosen to really take the emphasis off of gifts in what we do with each other personally. So what we do is throughout the Advent season, starting on about December 1st, we rotate each day a member of our family that we're focusing on, and they get a special surprise that day. Sometimes it's a gift of service. So for instance, and some of you are going to think that's not a good gift, but I loved it. Israel cleaned my floors for me one Christmas, like the deep cleaning with the vacuum. That was an awesome service gift.
Yay, Israel.
Yeah, he did awesome. We've gone to the home improvement store and spent a couple bucks, getting hardware so we could set an art area up for Dia in one of our hallways. All sorts of possibilities in terms of service gifts. Sometimes it's simple experiences. So like literally, this is no money, right? We rent, a holiday movie from the library, and we do cocoa and peppermint, candy canes in the cocoa, and that might be a little treat that someone will get in their stocking. Or experiences, building a gingerbread house, taking them out to ride a holiday train. There's so many possibilities. But for them to spend 75% of the Christmas season focused on what awesome thing are we going to do for somebody else in the family, it's not going to cost a lot of money. For us, that's made the whole season just a real joy. Tina, how about you?
Well, I've enjoyed listening to the different ideas that my colleagues have shared with you. It's ironic that this morning, as I was kind of trying to place in my head what I was going to share with you, that I was also on this other side of my brain, had my little checklist of all the things that I have to do and hurry up and do so I can be ready to be calm. And how sad is that, it's ironic that my keychain has Wonder Woman on it, that my mug has Wonder Woman on it. And I don't say that to brag. I actually say that and go, oh, that's so sad. Because at least women, in my generation especially, we were taught that we could do all things, and I believe that's true. But it's a lot of pressure. I'm hoping that we've taught our daughters better, that simple is good, that simple is better, and that the stuff doesn't matter. But the reality is that, for us women, we have a checklist. There are things that have to get done for the holidays that we're responsible for because we take on that role of making it great for everybody else. We want it to be seamless and wonderful and magical and all of those things, but how do we make that happen? It's not easy. It's a lot of work and it's a lot of pressure, so going into this season is crazy for us. So we make lists, right? And we prepare. And we get everything ready so that it's wonderful. When my kids were small, we had those traditions that we did. You make cookies, and you make so many cookies, and you let them eat them and then share them with family and friends. We had our angel tree gifts that we did, decorating our house, going out to see the decorations of other homes. Checklist, things that we did that were wonderful traditions. I remember so many Christmases where I would get up at midnight to go stand in line at a Toys R Us because Taylor had to have that Power Ranger gift, and I was going to make sure it happened. We've all done it. And the thing is now as I look back and I'm a grandma of 2, and I'm watching my daughter do those same things, that we realize that, that gift, that Power Ranger gift, it wasn't about the gift. Really, it was about mom just wanting to make sure that my son had that special something. And he doesn't remember that gift. He remembers that he opened up something that was cool. And I remember his face when he did it. My encouragement to you is, at this time of your life, wherever you are, is just to take time. Now is a really wonderful opportunity. It's not too late, just to kind of reevaluate what it is that your holiday is going to look like, what you want it to look like. Prepare, minimize, take time for yourself to just kind of enjoy it. It's one of the things that, as I look back, that I go, I wish I would have taken more time to just breathe for a moment, to actually look around at the guests who are at my table. I'm enjoying a wonderful time as opposed to me cleaning up because I didn't want it to be messy. I wanted it to still look pretty. I wanted everything to look gorgeous. But to enjoy the people that are there with you, whether it's the person next door, whether it's one person, whether it's a huge family event, just enjoy where you're at, just to take the time and breathe and enjoy the gift that we've been given. So that's what I'd like to share with you.
Thanks, team. And as a church, we've been intentional. The first week of Advent, we have our Advent by candlelight. We have our Christmas concert with the full orchestra here on that Thursday night. But after that, the calendar is open. Because, again, we were intentional not to fill it with stuff here at the church that you had to feel guilty about if you didn't go to or that you should go to. And so we hope that's the same. We hope that that's provided some of that space. And even for me as a single dad now, what do I do at Christmas? I don't give Mackenzie a blank check, like some of you probably think I do. No. Last year was the first time, I was here, and so it was a whole new year of transitions. year of making memories, and that's really what we would do during the holidays. And so we did the alternative gift fair. And so I don't tell Mackenzie how much I'm going to spend on her. Believe that or not, I don't. I just said, Mackenzie, I'm going to spend this much money. So what do you think that instead of spending this much on you, I'm only going to spend this much? And that difference is we're going to make a difference in somebody else's life. And she was thrilled with the idea. And so, again, so that's just a great way for us who, not that I can get her anything she wants, but, I could love on her and spoil her in some great ways. But there just needs to be a limit that, it's just not about the things. This year, she's taken an child early development class for her degree. And so she says, Dad, I'm going through this class and it's like therapy. I go, what one? Early child development. I go, what is it? She goes, well, we're always talking about growing up. And so I said, are you thinking about Mom? Yes. So what? What are you missing most? She says, well, I'm missing the fact that she won't be here for any of my events in life. I said, yes. Doesn't mean they're not going to be a good event. She just won't be there, and I can't do anything about that. She goes, I miss dinners around the table. I said, yep. Dad blew that one too. It's really where the coupon is where we're going for dinner. I said, yeah, Dad needs to work on that. But she says, you know what, the holidays, I really want to be with family. And so despite my wisdom, despite logic that says, why would you go to Michigan in the wintertime? We're going to leave at 10 o'clock Christmas Eve night, so that second service will be right on time, trust me. We're flying out LAX to spend a few days in Michigan. And it's really nothing that I would do. I have no desire to be in Michigan. And my feeling is I love my family, they love me. There are people here I could spend Christmas with and have an incredible time. But for me it was, okay, what do I have to sacrifice to make something a little bit different? And so that's what we're doing. And we'll see what this year brings us, some new memories for us as a family, and just to focus on those relationships. And so we hope that, I'm sure some of you, maybe it's jarred some things, but we just need to be intentional to remember that the sacrifice that God made for us, and how can we share that without our hearts, our minds, and our wallets getting hijacked over the next month. So, we're going to continue. Can we do both songs, Jace, or one? Okay. We're going to wrap up with one song as we conclude our worship time together, folks. And again, after this, we'll go into our annual meeting. But let this worship time maybe be a time for you to say, okay, God, help me. Help me not to worry about things. Help me to trust you. And so you may continue to worship by sitting or standing where you're at, by thinking through your own prayer list, so to speak. You may come up to light a candle in memory of, Lord, I need your help to light up a dark situation. You can come and celebrate communion, reminding us of the fact of the reality of the God incarnate that came down. And we take the cup and the bread to remember that. Maybe you want to nail something to the cross, says, you know what, God, I need to get this off my chest. Or maybe you need somebody to actually pray with you over a few things. So we invite you back to our prayer area to engage in prayer. So whatever your response may be, join into this last song, and may it be a time for us to continue to worship as we prepare for the next week.